And say thank God for His goodness and all that He's done for us. It's Saturday. That means that tomorrow is the Lord's Day. And I hope you're excited about the Lord's Day and you're making plans to be in His house tomorrow and to worship Him in spirit and in truth. Now, I want to give a cordial invitation to anyone that's in our area in Marion, North Carolina, to come and be a part of our services at Grace Baptist Church. We're located on 930 Shady Lane in Marion. We'll have Sunday school at 10 o'clock and worship service at 11 and at 6 tomorrow. And we would love to have you to come and be part of those services with us. Now, we are looking at Romans chapter 8 and the subject of victory in Jesus. And this week, we have been looking at 5 victorious questions that lead us to victory when we have the answer. We have seen the question of God's favor, the question of God's friendship, the question of God's freedom, the question of God's faithfulness. But now we want to look at the final question, the question of God's fellowship. I want you to think about this, verses 35 and 36. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword? As it is written, for thy sake we are killed all the day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. You see here the question of God's fellowship. Now, Paul really gives us a question here of invitation. Boy, when we come to the Lord, he says this: what's going to separate us from the Lord? That word separate there really means to divide, to put asunder, if you will. What's going to divide us from the Lord? Oh, we know this. There's plenty of things at work in this world that would divide us from the Lord today. As I said earlier in the week, well, if Satan had his way, he'd destroy our life, dear friend. He wants us as far away from God as he can get us today. But here's the good news. God's invitation is this: whosoever will, let him come. Oh, dear friend, I'm so glad today that we can come to the Lord and we can know the Lord today, and know that we can know Him in a way that there will not be any separation for us. And so you see the invitation. It's a question of invitation. But now Paul also gives us a list of inspection here. What a great list. He says, now, are these things going to do it? Tribulation, that's those things that would press down our life. Distress, those narrow or tight places, that dire calamity that we go through. Persecution, famine, nakedness, peril, sword. Is any danger, anything going to separate us from the love of God, dear friend? Oh, I want to tell you, we know this. There's not anything that's going to separate us, dear friend, from the love of Christ. Oh, we see here this great fellowship that we have with the Lord. Now, I thought the other day about some friends that I had in my boyhood days. I still consider them friends. As a matter of fact, I would say about some of them that we were good friends, even best friends. But now we've grown and gotten older, and it's been many years since I've seen some of those folks. Even though they're dear to my heart, life's taken them one direction, taken me another direction, and we know this: time and space kind of has divided us. But I want you to know, the day I met Jesus, oh, I got one that sticks closer than a brother that day, dear friend. And even when I've had good friends in this life that have turned from me and they walked away from me, I want to tell you something: Jesus never has, dear friend. He is a faithful friend to us. And so the Bible says this: what's going to separate us from the love of Christ? Oh, nothing is, dear friend. Now, as we close, I want to go back to that first question that Paul asks as he comes to these verses. What shall we then say to these things? And I want to ask you this question, friend. Considering these questions and these things, what are you going to say to them today? What's your response? Oh, I want you to know the response that you have to these questions will affect you for all of eternity. If you consider these questions biblically and get the biblical answer to these questions, I want to tell you, it'll lead you somewhere. And where it will lead you to is victory in Jesus. And oh, how I hope you have that in your life. Till the next time, may God bless.